We're joined today by Rebecca, who did some walks for us last year. You may have seen them on Instagram or may follow her on Instagram. It's been a few months since you did your walks, but I guess you've still been doing walks since you've been doing the videos with us. So presumably you enjoy walking parts of the Jurassic Coast, do you?
So definitely I do enjoy walking the Jurassic Coast. It's actually one of my favourite places to walk.
So had you been to the Jurassic Coast before you started doing our walks? Like, what's your connection to the coast?
Oh yeah, so basically my boyfriend actually lives in the Jurassic Coast. He's a dairy farmer. So yeah, I spend a lot of time outside helping and feed baby calves. And then normally on Sundays we go for a walk around Dorset, and generally most of the time we pick the Jurassic Coast, all weathers. So even if it's sunny, rainy, windy, that's our sort of go-to location. So yeah, I've seen quite a lot of the Jurassic Coast, which I really
Do you have a favourite part of the Jurassic Coast?
I do actually. You might be able to see from the picture behind me. So my favourite place to walk in the Jurassic Coast is actually Chapman's Pool and St Albans Head. I'm not so this sounds little bit strange, but I'm not a massive fan of hills and steps. But of course, to get to all the beautiful places, there's always going to be hills and steps. But yeah, St Albans Head has actually got lots and lots of steps on the pier bottom, so you sort of go down and then up, and actually that was one of the walks I recommended. But I do still really recommend it, even though it's very hilly. It's a very beautiful place, and as you can see behind, this is what it looks like.
Very nice. So other than the hills, are there any parts of the Jurassic Coast that you don't like or don't enjoy walking on?
So that's quite a tricky question. I actually like all of the Jurassic Coast, but if I had a least favourite, it's not I don't like it, but I would say either Erishmel, because it's super
Very steep.
yeah, or Falcon
Beacon, yeah, again, very steep.
Again, that hill is very, very steep. And the day that I walked up there, it was in the mid-30s. Well, I started walking, and then because I thought, oh, this has taken a while and it's really hot, I decided to run, which again, I don't really recommend anyone do that, but I done that. And then afterwards, yeah, I just remember that moment. So I would say Falcon Beacon.
That's fair enough. They are very, very hilly areas.
But it's definitely still worth going there. Once you get to the top, it's beautiful, and like the sea, just it's really, really nice. It's just very, very steep.
Yeah, and there's places that you can go where you can drive a little bit closer. And
yeah, and the other thing that's quite good with the Jurassic Coast is actually good connections with buses. So we did that with that particular walk. So we walked one way, and because we went a little bit far, we just got a bus, and the bus took us back to the car park. So that's something else that you could actually do.
That's really good to know, actually. So when you go for your walk, you quite often take your dog. Is there anything that you would say to people that are walking with their dogs on the Jurassic Coast? Any safety advice, or any areas, maybe the hills, that you wouldn't necessarily take your dog?
So I do take my dog often, but he's a little bit older now, so I sort of avoid taking him on the super hilly bits. But when I do take him, I always make sure I have a lead, and then also not to get too close to the edge, because I know that the cliffs are eroding, so it's a little bit dangerous. So I tend to keep to the coastal paths, and also when there's cattle about or livestock, I always put him back on the lead. And the other thing I do is to bring plenty of water as well. And I check the weather as well. That's quite a good thing, because obviously if it's going to be like super rainy or windy, it might not be too pleasant for him. So yeah, they're the things I normally do when taking my dog to the Jurassic Coast.
Is there anything on that note, is there anything that you would recommend to people if they want to walk parts of the Jurassic Coast? One key piece of advice before you set off?
Yeah, definitely. I would say Well, I have a few, but I'd say the main one is maybe check the weather, because there are parts of the coast which are really exposed. It is nice to walk along the coast all year round, but there are bits that even when it's really, really hot, there's no trees, so there's no shade, so obviously bring lots of water. If you're going to a bit what's at the bottom, check the tide times, because you can get caught out quite easily with that, especially around, I know, Harry's Rocks. Oh, it is possible to walk around the bottom bit, but that one I definitely recommend checking the tide times, because the water does come in quite quickly. What else will I say? There was something else I wanted to say.
About where to park and stuff like that, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, definitely check the parking as well. And there was definitely something else, but I'll come back to it because I can't actually remember now
Okay,
what I
we'll
was
come
going
back
to
to
say. Yeah, sorry.
So do you, when you go for your walks, not the ones that you did with us necessarily, but do you always plan your route, or do you plan a destination, get there and then decide where you're going to go?
No, so I don't plan my walks. I sort of decide, look on the map, and then just decide from there, because I quite like, well, I really like the sea. So I'd like to obviously make sure it's coastal, but I like things like big castles and flowers and things. So I try and look out for places where you might see that on the way. But generally with the Jurassic Coast, I would just say it's good to just get out there and explore. And if you find a nice location, you can just walk for miles and you're just everything. You're just, it's wow, basically. That was the other thing I was going to say, is make sure that you have a fully charged phone or camera, because there is actually lots and lots of stuff to take photos of. So yeah, that was my other recommendation. So yeah. So
And you like taking photographs, don't you? So I mean, that's part of or the main thing of your Instagram account. So what is it about the Jurassic Coast that inspires you?
Yeah, so I love taking photos, particularly of landscapes and flowers. So I have two accounts. One was all flowers, and my main account is landscapes. And the reason I like the Jurassic Coast so much is because of the variation and the colours. So also the geology, all the rocks, they've got all like the golds and browns, which is really good for photography. And then also all the plant life and flowers. It's different all year round, and also the change in weather. So the sky, when it's like the deep reds and purples, when it's a big gloomy day, it makes it all very sort of atmospheric, and it's just perfect. It's like a photographer's dream, basically. So that's why I spend a lot of time outside taking photos and sharing them with everyone. So yeah.
When you're doing your walks, you quite often talk to people along your routes. Have you had any memorable interactions with anybody?
Yeah, I do. I'm not too sure how it happens. I just go around taking photos and smiling and things, but generally it's a mixture of things what happen. I have people coming up to me and just having a chat, really. Often it sort of starts off with the dog running up to someone and sniffing their dog, and then obviously people start chatting that way. And then yeah, people just come up and want to have a chat. And sometimes I see people taking photos and I might say, oh, that looks nice. And then it sort of opens into conversation. So
With anybody?
So the other question you asked me was about interesting or different people. I would say there was. So when I went on the Four Wilks, I met Mike and Nora, and I believe they're the Jurassic Coast ambassadors in Devon. I had this book, and it had all of the local people what have done something memorable, whether they've like kayaked some distance or things like that. And that was really nice to see, actually. And it's quite a big book. So yeah, if you're ever in beer, I would recommend going to see Mike and Nora if they're there. So I don't think they're there all the time, but yeah, they're really lovely people.
A good endorsement, thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anywhere that you've seen on your walk that you've really wanted to go back to a lot, or that you wish you lived there, or that you could stay there for a much longer holiday?
Yeah, so there's lots of really lovely places, and I would say there was a bit on the West Bay walk. So I believe the place featured on a series called Broadchurch, and it was a really cute sort of country cottage. I don't think you can stay in there because it's all fenced up, but I would say there would be really nice to stay for maybe a long weekend because it overlooks the sea and it's really pretty colours, and you could sort of sit there and do painting or have tea, I don't know. But yeah, it's really nice. So I would say I don't think the cottage is called Broadchurch Cottage, but that particular location. So
Yeah, it overlooks those beautiful golden cliffs, doesn't it?
it does. It's really, really nice. And if you pick the day right, the sea is like jet blue, and it's nice because the building's all yellows and golden colours, so it looks nice against the cliffs, the golden cliffs. So yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you would like to say to people that are listening? Anything that you want to tell them about the fall walks or any of your other walks that you've done?
No. So, well, yes. Let me start that again. Yeah, so I would say that I've really enjoyed the fall walks, because as I said, I really love walking along the Jurassic Coast. And also what I liked about it is I actually got to see bits that I hadn't seen before, particularly in Hook and Undercliff. I think that bit was really, really good because it actually reminds me of Jurassic Park, because you sort of go down this like really steep hill and there's lots of overgrowth and it's like going into another world. It's really, really amazing. So I didn't know that place existed, but from here and doing the walk, I got to see somewhere that I hadn't been before. So yeah, I would say to people that if you're in the Jurassic Coast, that just to get out there and explore really. And there's lots of interesting things to see and lots of really nice knowledgeable people as well. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Do you find people are friendly generally, or has there been any?
I would say so, yeah. So everyone, I haven't ever had a problem in the Jurassic Coast. Everyone's like really, really nice. Like when you go on the walks, people sort of like hello and like wave, and it's just nice and everyone's polite and happy. So I like it. So yeah. To say thank you, basically. Thank you for giving me the experience of showing people a bit of what I do. And like I said, I really enjoyed the fall walks, and there's so much to see along the coast. So I quite liked being able to share with people some of the places that I like going to. So thank you.
Fantastic. Yeah, and thank you so much for talking to us today.
Thank you. Bye.